So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions have officially started training camp. They are 2 days in, and as of recording, they are going in to day 3 of NFL training camp, getting ready and preparing for the 2023 NFL season. And today, I wanted to take a look at the Detroit Lions training camp so far. I wanted to take a look at maybe some of the injuries, some of the new signings, some of the new players on the roster, some of the offensive takeaways, defensive takeaways, and standout players from the first 2 days of Detroit Lions training camp, and really give a good idea and a good look at how the Detroit Lions are looking heading into the 2023 NFL preseason. Now, starting off with the injuries, the Detroit Lions are a relatively healthy team at this point, and none of these injuries are incredibly concerning yet, but there are a few key players that have either been placed on the PUP list, the NFI list, or have just missed a couple days of training camp with injuries that don't seem too serious, but could come back to bite the Lions if they do develop and become worse. Now, first and foremost, we have talked prior about how Hendon Hooker has been placed on the NFI list, along with two other young players. However, Hendon Hooker is the big headline of the NFI list right now. He currently isn't practicing really with the Detroit Lions, isn't really currently healthy enough to play for the Detroit Lions, and they feel like putting Hendon Hooker on the NFI list is the best course of action as of right now. Now, the Detroit Lions can, of course, remove him from the NFI list at any time, but if it does reach the regular season, he will have to sit out at least the first month of the regular season with the NFI lists and rules. Now, Marvin Jones was placed on the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, early in the training camp process. However, it seems to be more of a precautionary thing. It seems to be more of a, hey, he's 33 years old, says he's having some back problems, right? He's just an older wide receiver, veteran wide receiver. He's going to take his time showing up to camp, taking his time to get ready, take a couple extra days to prep and get ready, and then he will return when he is ready. But it doesn't seem like there is any big news. It doesn't seem like there's any big controversy around Marvin Jones. He's just an old veteran. He's a guy that is probably has a little bit more wear and tear than some of the younger guys. He's a guy that is, going to take a couple extra days to really get on the field and see what happens. Now, Emmanuel Moseley was also put on the PUP list after the first day of training camp. He is recovering from a torn ACL a season ago, was at mandatory minicamp, was at OTAs, did even practice on the field a little bit throughout those drills, but they're taking a little bit more precaution as training camp. I don't know if Moseley is missing for personal reasons. I don't know if he's not at Allen Park just because they don't need him there quite yet. However, the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell have said that they do expect Moseley back by the beginning of next week at the latest. So again, a slightly concerning, something worthy of note, but nothing too concerning as of right now. Now, yesterday, of course, there was the big breaking news that CJ Gardner-Johnson had a non-contact knee injury that could have been really, really bad. Now, the news has since came out that it is not a severe injury. It is not going to keep him out for the season, but CJ Gardner-Johnson is currently day-to-day with whether or not he will practice. And I do believe on the third day of training camp being today, he is not practicing with the team. He will be doing more stuff off to the side, individual drills, and more rehabbing than actually getting onto the field with his teammates. And then the last injury I want to talk about is going to be Jameson Williams, a player that is expected to miss a day or two of training camp with a lower leg injury. Again, nothing too crazy, didn't break anything, didn't tear anything, didn't pull any muscles to my knowledge, but he is taking a day or two of rest and recovery before he gets back into team drills and before he starts going a little bit harder again. He's taking some time to rehab a leg injury that started bothering him yesterday towards the end of practice. Now, taking a look before we get into the actual camp takeaways, the Detroit Lions did bring in Teddy Bridgewater for a workout. And Teddy Bridgewater has been around the NFL for a long time, is a really good NFL veteran. play style wise, actually reminds me a lot of Jared Goff as far as the play action, thriving under play action, thriving on the move, quick, decisive reads, right? A player that plays a very similar game to the starting quarterback of the Detroit Lions. Last season started 2 games for the Miami Dolphins, but played in 5, totaled 682 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 62% completion percentage, and with Hendon Hooker on the NFI list, that leaves the Detroit Lions with 3 quarterbacks, that being Goff, Sudfeld, and Adrian Martinez. And if the Detroit Lions want an upgrade over Nate Sudfeld, they can bring in Teddy Bridgewater in replace of Hendon Hooker. However, that would mean likely that Hendon Hooker will be shut down for a large majority, if not the entirety, of the 2023 NFL season. Now, getting on to actual camp takeaway, starting off with the offensive side of the ball. The offense looks very, very sharp to begin with. By all accounts, Jared Goff is dialed in. His receivers are making good routes. They're making good catches. They're finding spaces between the defense. And despite the defense having tight coverage, despite the defense being really good in its own right, the offense is just really picking up where it left off a season ago. It's a sharp offense. It's a big play offense. It is a decisive offense. It is efficient in 2-minute drills. And from all accounts, Jared Goff looks incredibly sharp, as well as the entire offense to start camp. Jahmyr Gibbs is no exception to that. Big play after big play, big run after big run, bouncing it to the outside and picking up massive gains on the ground has been where Jahmyr Gibbs has really impressed coaches and media so far. And we've seen that over the first 2 days and expect to see it a lot more going forward. Now, Khalif Raymond has been a big play threat for the Detroit Lions over the last couple of years and continues to show that in training camp with a 50-plus yard touchdown, a 50-plus yard bomb in the 2-minute drill to put the Detroit Lions offense ahead, had a lot of people talking. Khalif Raymond, a big-time playmaker for the Lions over the last 2 years, the Lions' second leading receiver a season ago, and the big play threat when DJ Chark was out. He is a player that I think will be the deep threat while Jameson Williams is serving his suspension, and I think is going to have a really, really big season, especially through the first 6 games. Now, Graham Glasgow has been starting at the right guard position. There was a big controversy when he was signed, whether he or Halapaloe Vaitai will be taking the starting right guard position. And while Big V returns from injury, while he's returning from that back injury that kept him out a season ago, Graham Glasgow has been the starting right guard for the Detroit Lions over the last couple of practices and continues to be that starting right guard going into day 3 of training camp. Now, of course, the battle will go back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if Halapaloe Vaitai ends up winning that spot come the preseason, but the competition right now seems to be leaning slightly in the favor of Graham Glasgow, the free agent signing from the Denver Broncos. Now, defense doesn't have quite as many takeaways. The defense does look pretty good, but they haven't had quite as many big plays as the offense. Harris, however, has been very disruptive. Charles Harris, the former first-round pick and former free agent signing of the Detroit Lions, missed a large portion of last season with an Achilles injury. He wasn't able to play any more than 6 contests, and in those 6 contests only had 1.5 sacks, but was pretty disruptive on the time that he was healthy. Now, he is officially returned to training camp, is officially back with the ones, and has been a very disruptive player, putting pressure on the quarterback, sniffing out screen passes, and just being a really, really good really good outside linebacker at this point. He is a player that is making a case for starting reps come the preseason and the regular season. And then, of course, team captain Tracy Walker is officially returning to play. Tore his Achilles in week 3 a season ago, hasn't played since, did a lot of walkthroughs at mandatory minicamp, did a lot of offseason rehab and training, and has officially returned to 11-on-11 drills. And in the first day of camp, coming away with an interception for the first string defense. He's already back making plays, looks really good coming off the Achilles, isn't quite 100% from what I've heard, but is good enough to be on the field, be on 11-on-11s, and starting to make plays, even if his explosiveness isn't 100% back from the ACL or Achilles injury. Now, taking a look at the rookies, as a lot of people are going to worry about where rookies are playing, what rookies are starting, and what rookies are not. Now, as far as I could tell, the rookies going with the first string yesterday were Jahmyr Gibbs at running back, Brian Branch at the safety/nickel cornerback position in relief of CJ Gardner-Johnson, who left practice early, as well as Sam Laporta, who by all reports has been the Detroit Lions' best tight end throughout training camp so far. We've already talked about Gibbs making big plays on the offense. Sam Laporta has been one of the biggest play threats of the Detroit Lions' first-string offense and looks like the best tight end for the job, already beating out veterans such as James Mitchell and Brock Wright. And then Brian Branch had some mixed time. Obviously, started with the second string while CJ Gardner-Johnson was in, but after CJ left with his non-contact leg injury, Brian Branch did slide into the first team reps and played really, really well. Had a pass breakup in team drills and was really just showing really strong instincts from the jump. Now, rookies practicing with the second team. That would be Broderick Martin, the nose tackle, Colby Sorsdale, the right guard, as Jack Campbell, the outs, or as well as Jack Campbell, the off-ball linebacker. Now, a lot of people are going to be concerned about Jack Campbell. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, we're already at training camp, and he's not taking first-team reps." And I think this has more to do with the talent at linebacker that is ascending, and more to do with the Detroit Lions rookie linebacker being a rookie, right? Malcolm Rodriguez, a fan favorite from last year and a player that made a lot of big plays, is practicing with the second string because Derek Barnes has outperformed him so far and has been really, really good at training camp. Alex Anzalone, the team captain, has been outperforming Jack Campbell. And, it's not so much, I think, a slander on Jack Campbell as it is a compliment to how well Alex Anzalone and Derek Barnes are playing as of right now throughout the early stages of training camp. Right? There's no doubt in my mind that Malcolm Rodriguez will play. There is no doubt in my mind that Jack Campbell will play at linebacker, but they just might not be starting linebackers. They might be rotational. They might be situational. They might be players that just don't see the field as often because they're younger. They have less experience, and those veterans ahead of them are just playing better football at this point in their careers. Of course, Sorsdale and Martin are both expected to be depth and rotational pieces as the Detroit Lions move forward and as kind of, some of the veterans move up, as some of the contracts get bigger, or just as they develop into starting caliber players. They are working primarily with the second team at this point, but they have been impressing on the second team just as much as the other players have been impressing with the first team. Now, before we end today's video, I want to talk about a player, a spotlight player that has showed up to training camp, that has proved a lot of people wrong over the last couple of days and looks really, really strong going into the rest of training camp and going into the preseason. That player is Levi Onwuzurike, the former second-round pick from the University of Washington, the second pick Brad Holmes ever made as an NFL general manager, has faced a lot of injury concerns, has faced a lot of criticism from the media and from the fans, and even just a month ago, people were saying that Levi Onwuzurike was never going to play football again, was never going to practice again, was never going to see an NFL field again, and all of a sudden, those allegations seem to be wildly incorrect. Levi Onwuzurike has officially returned from injury and was taking both reps with the first team as well as the second team yesterday at the second day of training camp. He was then seen after practice working with bags with Aiden Hutchinson after practice, and the two of them were talking a lot. He was explaining a lot to Levi Onwuzurike, and they seem to have a really good connection there, with Levi Onwuzurike, of course, being more of an interior rusher, Aiden Hutchinson being an outside rusher, but they will be working side by side and have continued to do so after practice over the first 2 days of camp. And Levi, from all reports, has looked really good from a player coming off a really serious back surgery, a really serious back injury. And Levi Onwuzurike is now currently a starting member of the Detroit Lions defensive line. And if he hits his ceiling, if he goes back to being the disruptive player we saw in his rookie preseason before he got injured, this could be a huge upgrade to the Detroit Lions defensive line and be a huge asset to the Lions pass rush as well as their defense as a whole. So I really wanted to give a shout out to Levi Onwuzurike. Made a video about him a couple months ago talking about the impact he could have if healthy, and all the responses where he's never going to play, he's never going to be healthy, this was a wasted video. And now he is not only playing with the Detroit Lions again, but having rotational starting reps with the Detroit Lions as an interior pass rusher. And I'm really, really happy for him and excited to see what he can bring to the Detroit Lions, because he's always had talent. He's always been a disruptive player when he's been healthy. The problem has been he's never really been healthy long enough to make a significant impact on the year. And finally, I think that we are going to see the full potential of Levi Onwuzurike. But with all that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. If you made it this far into the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel as well as like the video. You clearly enjoy the content, so subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a Detroit Lions video. But with all that being said, that is all we have for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about the training camp so far, how you feel about Levi, how you feel about the injury concerns, how you feel about the Teddy Bridgewater workout, as well as the training camp takeaways. But with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions.